Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening. My name is IFFAHANI HELMI and with me today I have Rabiatul ADAWIAH and NURIN NAZIFA. Have you ever think if one day we don't have enough food? Have you ever think that we will live in hunger? Where is all the food that we think is enough? Hence the topic for our presentation today. I'm going to talk about the food security in agriculture. What is food security? Food security is defined as the availability of food and one's access to it. A household is considered food secure when its occupants do not live in hunger or fear of starvation. Stages of food insecurity range from food secure situations to full-scale famine. The World Food Summit of 1996 defined food security as existing when all people at all times have access to sufficient, safe, nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active life. Next, I'm going to talk about 4 elements in food security. First is food availability. Availability refers to the physical existence of food. Enough nutritious food of sufficient quality needs to be available to people for their consumption. Due to population growth and climate change, the pressure on existing natural resources, namely land and water, increases. Impacts of climate change are often leading to land degradation, lack of irrigation water, reduced soil moisture, and therefore losses of economic livelihoods. Availability can be affected by production, distribution, and exchange of food. Next is food access. Individuals and households must be able to acquire sufficient food to be able to eat a healthy, nutritious diet or have access to sufficient resources needed to grow their own food. This depends mainly on the amount of household resources and on prices. Access can be affected by first, affordability, the ability of individuals, households, or communities to afford the price of food or land for producing food relative to their incomes. Second is allocation, the economic, social, and political mechanism governing when, where, and how food can be accessed by consumers and on what terms. For example, food may be unequally allocated according to age and gender within households. The third one is preference. Social, religious, and cultural norms and values that influence consumer demand for certain types of food. For example, like religious prohibitions or the desire to follow a specific dietary pattern such as vegetarian. Third is food utilization. Food utilization, which is people must have access to a sufficient quantity and diversity of foods to meet their nutritional needs, but must also be able to eat and properly metabolize such food. Utilization can be affected by nutritional value in food they are consumed as measured in calories, vitamins, protein, and various micronutrients. By health status, the effect of disease such as HIV or diarrhea on the ability to consume the food and absorb and metabolize its nutrients. And also by food safety and preparation and consumption, the resources, knowledge, and ability to prepare and consume food in a healthy and hygienic way. Last but not least is stability. Stability describes the temporal dimension of food and nutrition security, respectively the time frame over which food and nutrition security is being considered. Stability is given when the supply on household level remains constant during the year and in the long term. Food may be available and accessible to people who are able to utilize it effectively, but to avoid increases in malnutrition and in order for people not to feel insecure, this state of affairs needs to be enduring rather than temporary or subject to fluctuations. The next slide will be conducted by Rabiatul ADAWIAH.
Alright, thank you, Ifa. Now, I will talk about the important and challenge in the food security. First, I will discuss about the important in the food security. So the first one, the important in the food security is we want to have a constant supply. We need a constant supply because we want to make sure that in the future, every single household get enough food. If we cannot fulfill that, it may lead to the more problem and will lead to more problems such as like malnutrition and worse disease. To illustrate, let's look about the food shortage. So food shortage that can causes by the like primary scale will lead to the inconstant food supply. If it continue happen, agriculture production will be decreased. So in addition, the food security is also important to curb the malnutrition cases. So what is actually the malnutrition? So malnutrition is the lack of one or more essential nutrient in a food. About 15 to 20 million deaths occur annually due to the malnutrition. Human nutrition is provision to humans to obtain the necessary material to support life. For example, the malnutrition cases is a childhood malnutrition. So childhood malnutrition is a common and contribute to the global disease. So there are two major causes by the malnutrition into the poverty, food price, dietary practice, and also the agriculture productivity. So the next one is the challenge in the food security. So what is the actually challenge in the food security? So the challenge in the food security is water scarcity. So water scarcity, which are already spurring heavy grain imports from the numerous small countries, may soon do the same in the large country such as like China and India. The water table are falling due to the widespread over pumping using powerful diesel or electric pump. This will lead to the water scarcity and cut back the harvest rate. So there's a few countries that has been affected, such as like Afghanistan, Pakistan, and also Iran. And do you know that 28% of the agriculture lie in a water region stress, and like there's 1,600 liter of water it takes to produce a kilogram of wheat and 16,000 liter to produce a kilogram of beef. And in 2050, we need as much as water. So the second challenge that we face is the climate change. So extreme events such as like drought and flood are forecast to increase as a climate change, ranging from overnight flood to gradually worsening drought. This will have a range effect on the agriculture sector. And according to the Climate Knowledge Development Network, according to the Climate Development Knowledge Network, the effect will include a changing productivity, economic losses, and also, of course, our food security. So the food security in future will link to our ability to adapt in the agriculture sector to the extreme event. For example, the extreme event is like a shifting weather pattern that arise due to the temperature. It will risk the diminish of the food supply. So to talk about the next part, I will pass to my friend NURIN to continue. Thank you.
So thanks, Ada. So based on Ada point just now, we should talk about challenge in food security. So now let's move to the next part, which is about how Malaysia approach food security. According to the Global Food Security Index, Malaysia was ranked 28 out of 130 countries and also categorized as top 5 in good performance. It is because the action that taken by Malaysia is effectively and successful. So let's see the point number 1, which is government agency and agri-entrepreneur. What is government agency and agri-entrepreneur? So both of them are responsible in making supply food to the country insufficient. So they will ensure sufficient and quality food supply for our country. For example, the famous one is Federal Agriculture Marketing Authority, which is known as FAMA. FAMA is one of the leading agency under Ministry of Agriculture and a group-based industry that involved in extension activities in food production. As we can see, many kind of food that label FAMA on their packaging. They also need to plan their marketing mix strategy and supply chain management effectively. There are many more agencies that we all know the function is to help Malaysia to improve food security. So the next point is about urban agriculture. What is urban agriculture? So since nowadays many of people live in the condo apartment which they do not have large land to gardening, Malaysia introduced urban agriculture. Urban agriculture can allow them to growing the plant and animal within and around the city. So it can contribute to the availability of fresh and nutrition food item, reduction in food reproduction expenditure, and having direct access to variety of food products. So for the last part, how Malaysian approach food security is by technology. So Malaysia was introducing technology because Malaysia know that technology can improve our agriculture and food resources. There are many kind of technology that introduced by our government, such as robot, temperature and moisture sensors, aerial image and GPS technology. So many farmers nowadays use technology to increase their yield. For example, my father also used kind of the technology which make the increase in yield, so my father can produce many of rice. So it will our Malaysian cannot have a supply enough food. So this advanced device and precision agriculture and robotic system allow business to be more profitable, efficient, safer, and more environmental friendly. So as the conclusion, food security is making sure that everyone is able to get food without the food shortage. There are 4 elements of food security, which are availability, accessibility, utilization, and stability. So we can, Malaysia has done many things to improve food security by improving agriculture, business, health and nutrition, education, and environment. So that's all from us. Thank you.